It is the Michigan Football Report. We are in Studio Z. I got my guy Jeff Cooperstein ready to take a loss to Clemson and Austin's finest Cade Kublik for his Longhorns shortly in about, another week or so, right, Jeff? Filming here on a Sunday because all the studios here either under construction or being used for NFL Sunday. Had some just general thoughts that I toss you guys here on a Sunday afternoon. As always, I am James Yoder, your host of the Michigan Football Report. We got a lot of things to talk about. Just talk about who's leaving, who's returning, what just kind of has transpired over the last 3 or 4 days. But I did want to remind you that it always helps us out. It helps you out too as a viewer to subscribe to the Michigan Football Report. So subscribe. We've got news. We'll talk about a little news today, rumors, and we always have the inside scoop. You go back and fact check us game after game, week after week over the last 4 or 5 seasons of Michigan football. No one has been more accurate than the Michigan Football Report on what is going on behind the scenes of Jim Harbaugh and now Sherrone Moore's program. So let's just recap some things we learned over the weekend. No Donovan Edwards against Alabama. So there was like a toy drive at one of the malls in the greater, Detroit, Ann Arbor, Michigan area on Saturday. Will Johnson was there. Mason Graham was there. Colston Loveland was there. And the Don, big game Don. There was a guy, Coop. I would hire Donovan Edwards if it doesn't work out from the NFL here at Chat Sports. Just a wholesome guy. Made the video for my son at the national championship game and just showed, an outpouring of gratitude to Michigan football fans. But did confirm that he will not play in the bowl game against Alabama coming up on December 31st down in Tampa. The former Outback Bowl, I think it's getting a bad rap because it's the Reliaquest Bowl. No one knows what the hell the Reliaquest Bowl is. It sounds like the Meineke Car Care Bowl. It sounds like the Pinstripe Bowl. It sounds like 6-6 Bowl in Detroit, Michigan. Even though Michigan's 7-5, they're getting slotted like they're a 9-3, 10-2 team, like the 9-3 Crimson Tide. But he was injured in the first half against Ohio State. So he didn't confirm whether or not this is taking his an eye and putting it towards getting ready for the NFL draft coming up towards the end of April, the NFL Combine in the end of February in Indianapolis, or whether or not this is just a injury thing, coming over from the Ohio State game there Thanksgiving weekend. So it's 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks, 2 weeks ago. Am I crazy? No, 3 weeks ago, yesterday, the Ohio State-Michigan game. So no Donovan Edwards in the Reliaquest Bowl against Ohio State. Departing Wolverines, if you missed any of these over the last few days, Will Johnson, Colston Loveland, and Mason Graham have officially entered the 2025 NFL Draft. I think that it is near certainty that Graham and Johnson will be top 10 picks. I think that Colston Loveland maybe could be borderline first round at this point. I don't know. I think for most of the year he's been slotted in like that 12 to 25 range, but I've seen a couple of first round mocks over the last few weeks that haven't had him in it. But I do think ultimately Colston Loveland as tight end 1 in this draft will end up being taken in the first round. No word yet on Kenneth Grant, the other projected first rounder for Michigan. Could even see another Wolverine there in the defensive end. We'll talk about that later. Get a first round slot. So 3 Wolverines have declared now for the NFL Draft. Still waiting on Kenneth Grant. How about this quote from Mason Graham that he put on social media? Just brilliant, just amazing. It's been a truly an honor and a dream to come to represent the University of Michigan. Prior to this, in the quote, he thanked Jim Harbaugh. He thanked Sherrone Moore. Talks about his accomplishments. 2 Big Ten championships, the Rose Bowl, the 2024 national championships, and of course, this is the one that went crazy viral across the internet, slapping around Ohio State, not once, not twice, but 3 straight years. Your farewell message from Mason Graham. We all remember the video, Jeff. I don't know if you saw it, like 2 million impressions on this video, about 10 yards apart. Him and number 33, what's his name, from Jack Sawyer from Ohio State, the guy who just had a roid range, went crazy after the game, trying to fight everybody, right? And him and Mason Graham, right? The 2-star defensive linemen for their teams. Sawyer's over there going, your season's over, bro. Your season's over. Oh, my God. Crying Jack while Mason Graham, and I'm not going to say it because there's kids watching the show. He's just standing there nonchalant as possible. Ohio State, beep, pussies. Ohio State, beep, pussies. You guys know what I'm talking about. And the fact that he included it to end this farewell message is just all time. This is a group of juniors and seniors that beat Ohio State again either 3 times or 4 straight times. So show them love. If they watch this video, which I think a lot of Michigan players, definitely their parents do, comment BOSA below. Beat Ohio State again. It has been 5 full seasons without losing to this team, 4 straight wins over the Buckeyes. And I think we're going to get another 5th in 2025 in Ann Arbor. Ohio State next year is going to look a lot like Michigan this year, replacing a ton of players who try to stick around for a failed national championship run. Michigan got it done. I don't think Ohio State's going to get it done. Comment Bosa to thank these departing players from this Michigan football program. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. It's the app that I use to buy tickets to the national championship game on January 8th. We're Jay Aders here at the Michigan Football Report in Houston. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. The Michigan football regular season is over. We got the bowl game down in Tampa, but Game Time is still your perfect app for tickets to see all your favorite teams play. You want to see the Detroit Lions play? Game Time. How about the Michigan basketball team? Right, had a loss recently, but they are ranked number 14 in the country, hosting a game next Sunday, December 22nd. Game Time. Ready to head south to Tampa for that Michigan Bowl game. Again, it is Game Time. I love their last-minute deals. You can save up to 60% by buying last-minute tickets for sports, comedy, theater, all in pricing. You toggle this feature on. You see the total upfront cost. You don't wait till checkout for any of the surprise fees, and you can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS. One word for $20 off. Link is down in the comments and the description of today's Michigan Football Report. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Also, Coop, I used the Game Time to get into the Michigan-Texas game. Tickets were wildly expensive. And I looked like, we paid like $750 to be on like the 30-yard line because we had to get a couple extra tickets and people going 30-yard line up. Tickets for the college football playoff games, they are stupidly cheap. You could say the Ohio State game, Ohio State versus Tennessee, it's a 50-yard line, 30 rows back for like $450. I can't remember, Jay. I can't remember, Coop. I cannot remember what happened. All I do is remember is that Michigan won the national championship game as far as I can remember. So Derrick Moore and TJ Guy. So they are returning to Michigan football. Toss that one up for me. There you go. Returning Wolverines. So Michigan's edges, right? Josiah Stewart, of course, will not be returning. He was the other player that I mentioned a moment ago. Could sneak into the first round. More likely a second-round pick. TJ Guy, Derrick Moore, a ton in playing time this season for TJ Guy in that backup role. Expect those to be your starting edge players next year. Guy in his fourth year, senior year, and Moore in his fourth year, TJ Guy in his fifth year. Michigan did get long-rumored wide receiver transfer. Donaven McCulley, the Indiana wide receiver, committed to Michigan. This has been rumored for months now. Finally visited last week and has committed the first transfer portal commit for Sherrone Moore in this 2024 going into 2025 offseason. Big-time body, right? 6'5", 205 pounds. It's something Michigan was drastically needed this season. Had no red zone threat. I could argue they could have used him in 2023 as well. Roman Wilson turned into that, but didn't really have a big body wide receiver on this team in, frankly, the J.J. McCarthy era. He left Indiana mid-season. Now, is that a concern? They had a new coaching staff. It really didn't work out. And I was trying to understand. I was looking deep into the internet. Was it an injury issue? Was it something else? I think he just left the team. So there might be a scandal. Group saying scandal. There might be something going on. Could be, didn't like what the new role was, et cetera, et cetera. So just keep an eye out for that. I don't expect any of that with Michigan, but you always have some concerns. Like I heard the guys talking about the 49ers player who just walked off the field the other night, right? Teams might have concerns with him. I think Michigan should have a little bit of concern with a guy who just quits on his team mid-season. He will have 1 year of eligibility left. 48 catches, so nearly 50 catches for 644 yards and 6 touchdowns 2 years ago in 2023, but it did not work out under the new regime of Kurt Cignetti and this college football playoff-bound Indiana team. I like that Indiana matchup. I do think the CFP Coop got it right with all these matchups. Like, it's intrigue. You got Klubnik versus Ewers. You got, I think Penn State SMU is the one that's whatever. SMU or Tennessee and Ohio State, little Big Ten SEC matchup, and the state of Indiana and Notre Dame. How about some more transfer rumors and news? Maryland quarterback Billy Edwards Jr. has entered the transfer portal. Now, he might have some of that Josh Gaddis stink on him. We all know Gaddis is the offensive coordinator at Maryland. We don't want to touch that Gaddis stink, but I guess it's better than just having a true freshman in Bryce Underwood and Davis Warren on the roster. I'm sure you guys saw Alex Orji's in the transfer portal. Jaden Denegal is also in the transfer portal, and we might hear something on Michigan's true freshman quarterback in the coming weeks. I just expect it. Haven't heard anything that Jaden Davis ultimately won't be a part of this crew. He's set to visit Michigan early this week, and I think it's going to come down to Michigan and Wisconsin. I expect the Wolverines to take the Maryland starting quarterback. Was 273 of 420 passing, 65% this past season. His true junior year, 2,881 yards, 15 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. That's a little bit risque. You don't love that in 11 starts, but was benched in their second to last game in the second quarter against Iowa, a game they lose, did not play in the season finale. So I'm not sure if it was running with the coaching staff or they just wanted to go another direction. They knew he was transferring, but started 11 games, 2,881 yards, 65% completions. A little bit of a turnover concern, but if you are looking for someone who does not expect to be a Heisman candidate, all-conference player, and a guaranteed starter, this is the kind of player you are getting in Billy Edwards Jr. from Maryland to maybe start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games next year as Bryce Underwood ramps up his abilities. Although Underwood is on campus next week. I think he enrolls, he'll be able to be on campus a week from tomorrow on the 23rd and can participate in Michigan's bowl practice the last week leading up to that game against Alabama. But Billy Edwards Jr. will probably be either QB1 or QB2 for the first half of the season, and if he's QB2, will remain there, right along with Davis Warren, assuming Warren sticks it out for next year. So keep an eye out for that one. I'm guessing we get a commitment Tuesday or Wednesday this week at the latest. Let's pick the score here. Michigan is playing Alabama. Coop, you can tell it to me. I'm not sure. I know you're not mic'd up, but I don't know what to expect, right? No Donovan Edwards. Mason Graham, Colston, Loveland, Will Johnson haven't specifically said they're not playing, but I'm just assuming that's the expectation because they didn't say they were playing, that they're not playing. So you're going to be without those 4 guys if Kenneth Grant, as expected, goes to the NFL. So you're without your 4 best players in the roster. Then Donovan Edwards might be without some other players, right? Could be without Josiah Stewart, et cetera, et cetera. Predict the score down in the comments. I'll get mine here in a second. Coop, give me your score prediction.
As long as Alabama doesn't cheat, I will take the Wolverines to win. We know they're cheating. Kalen DeBoer, serial cheater.
Yep.
So I will take.
Give me a score.
I will take Michigan 30, Alabama 23.
Coop is saying 30-23 Alabama. That's why we love Coop here at the Michigan Football Report. I'm going to go a little lower. I'm going to stick with the vibes. I'm going 13-10 Michigan. 13-10 Michigan. We're running it back from the Ohio State score. 13-10 Michigan. Let me know your score prediction down in the comments. Going to go players that we mentioned returning for next year's season. So I mentioned Derrick Moore. I mentioned TJ Guy. Also, Rayshon Trap Money Benny had one of his best games against Ohio State. Huge in the rotation. I also expect Rod Moore to return in the secondary for his 5th year. Missed his entire season as a captain. Was down there on the field against Ohio State, getting into it on the sidelines and then in the ruckus afterwards. But if they can make an NIL, one of those 1 more year deals to Rod Moore, I think he comes back. Also, what happens to Jayshawn Barham? What happens to Ernest Hausman? Those guys are not going to the NFL draft. They could transfer. I'm not saying they would or even consider it, but as long as I believe Michigan makes decent enough 1 more year fun NIL deals, you're going to have a core of this defense of Derrick Moore, Benny, TJ Guy on the defensive line. You're going to have Rod Moore and others, right? And of course others. We're just talking about guys who could potentially leave upperclassmen, maybe 1 year left. And then your 2 starting linebackers who had their best games, I think, together as a unit, Barham and Hausman against Ohio State. So get it done. 1 more fun people. Get it done, Champions Collective. Get it done to what's his name, Larry Ellison, right? And Jolynn, his wife. Get it done. Get these guys and others from the transfer portal to return for 2024. I didn't get a chance to talk about this last week, but Chip Lindsey from North Carolina will take over Michigan's offense next year. And I'm just kind of, from this point, I'm just like, you know what? I hope he does well. I, frankly, up until about 3 or 4 hours before it was announced, I had never really heard his name much, right? I mean, he was in some people's early lists, etc., but North Carolina did not have a good offense this past year. They didn't really have that great of an offense in 2023, despite Drake May being their quarterback. But he is a guy who can run multiple sets. He is not an air raid. He's not a power. He's shown over his 20-plus years career of calling snaps that he can run a run-heavy offense, a pass-heavy offense. He runs the pistol a lot. So I'm going to trust Sherrone Moore's judgment on this one, that he was the best guy that they could get. Sounds like Toledo head coach Jason Candle was the other finalist. Michigan went with Lindsey. Whether or not Candle turned him down or not, you can interpret that as you will. I'm excited for a new, Michigan football offense. We saw maybe the least explosive offense in the history of the school this year in 2024, and I expect with Bryce Underwood, maybe Billy Edwards Jr., Chip Lindsey, and the up-and-coming players from Michigan, the transfer portal guys from this program, to make a bigger impact this year and put Michigan on maybe the path to be back in the college football playoff in 2025. Make sure you guys subscribe to the show, news, rumors, and the inside scoop. It's the Michigan Football Report by Chat Sports with producer Coop. We'll see you guys next time. Go Blue.